Alright, let's talk about There Are Billions. I have been a fan of a specific type of real-time strategy games with an emphasis on base building and defending against massive hordes. One of those games, or at least one where I encountered this concept for the first time, was Lord of the Rings: The Battle for Middle-earth. It was so cool to me to have my own castle with tall walls where I can put my range units on the ramparts and then defend against the constant onslaught from the forces of evil. That's how I played that game in skirmish mode. I would place 4 units of archers on the walls, 2 to the left from the gate and 2 to the right, with a hero unit next to them in order to give them the XP bonus so they can level up faster and be more deadly. Then I would build trebuchets and patiently defend until I could make a very powerful unit like Gandalf, unlock all the powers and eventually destroy the enemy bases one at a time when my cooldowns reset. I hoped Battle for Middle-earth 2 would do the same, but the gameplay drifted in a different direction. Still, Skirmish offered maps like Minas Tirith as well as Helm's Deep as an alternative, so I managed to get what I wanted, albeit not in the way I expected. There was something very cool in the whole process, and it kinda made a lasting impression on me. For some time, I was searching for a game that would offer me the same experience, obviously with far better mechanics, but at that time I couldn't find it, and some other things happened where I sort of drifted away from that type of strategy game, and that was that. Still, the flame has been ignited, and I would from time to time check if there were games that offer the same thing. Now, the introduction is important because after many years of pondering to play it, I finally dipped my toes into There Are Billions in order to check whether the game might offer me what I want. Before I start, small disclaimer. I mainly play campaign, while in survival I have played 2 games, and the footage you see on the screen is from one of those survival games. The game is set in a post-apocalyptic steampunk-like world where a mutated form of rabies, also called as Rabies Z, has caused a zombie outbreak. This setting works perfectly for me. I always enjoyed both steampunk and zombies. I mean, this is pretty much perfect setting where you want big hordes to attack your city. So, we have already started on a good note. Next, the graphics. If you can see how the game looks like on the footage that I have recorded, it is alright. Graphics do not play a major element in a game for me unless the game looks criminally bad. Here, it looks pretty okay, so no major issues. Now, let's focus on, as far as I'm concerned, the most important aspect of the game, which is the gameplay. The game combines base building, resource management, exploration, and tactical defense. Every game begins with a small base or outpost in a randomly generated map if you're playing survival, or predetermined map in case of campaign. The main task is to expand the base and survive ongoing onslaught while gathering resources, recruiting units, researching technologies, and building defenses, all while contending with the waves of zombie attacks. Over time, the density of zombie presence increases, culminating in a final horde attack. If the defenses fail and the zombies infect the colony structures or reach critical points, it's game over. That can easily happen even if a single zombie slips through the defenses. It will infect a building, and from there, the whole thing can snowball so fast, the only thing you can do is helplessly observe how your hard work is being obliterated in mere seconds. This implies you need to be fully aware what is happening around your base perimeter, because even a tiny slip up can be extremely fatal. To counter that, the game allows pausing at any time to issue orders, plan, or micromanage without time pressure. This is actually something I really like, since it takes a bit of planning to either expand or find decent choke points which can be utilized to build defenses. The game has several resources available to manage: colonists or workers, food, wood, stone, iron, gold, oil, and energy. Colonists represent a population that works, builds, and can be assigned to tasks. They generate workers which can be used to build buildings but also operate them. Food is used to feed the colonists, and failing to maintain food supply halts population growth. Wood is used in early buildings, gates, walls, etc., while stone is used for more advanced buildings and more advanced walls. Then there is iron, which is needed for military units and advanced structures. Finally, there is oil, required for late game and high level units or infrastructure. These resources are structured in a tier based system, whereby advancing from one resource to another gives you more power, either in form of better offensive or defensive capabilities. The two remaining resources are gold, which is used to buy stuff generated by colonists, and energy, which powers buildings and defenses. Naturally, it is important to maintain enough energy production and distribution, otherwise your buildings cannot function. Base building in this game works really well. You gradually expand your base in search for more resources, which coincidentally results in your colony becoming larger, but also more difficult to defend. Essentially, it all comes to this formula. First you expand, then you defend, then you repair after being attacked, and then you expand again, and it's rinse and repeat. This is the core gameplay loop, and this loop will not deviate from the core tenets in any way, shape, or form. The game has a tech tree, which is available during the campaign. It represents a natural progression in terms of unlocking new facilities, buffs, or units. In comparison to the tech tree in campaign, in survival mode, tech tree does not exist. Instead, there are opportunities to elect up to 4 mayors. After reaching a specific number of colonists, the choice is given between 2 randomly picked mayors of the appropriate level. For example, level 1 you get when you unlock 30 colonists, level 2 at 200, level 3 at 600, and finally level 4 at 1200 colonists. These can give various bonuses for different aspects of the game, mostly in form of enhancements. For example, they can increase gold capacity, give units, or improve building capabilities with passive buffs to production. In campaign mode, the only thing that you can change is difficulty, while in survival mode there are 3 categories to change: map type, game duration, and infected population, which are all very much self-explanatory. Finally, there is a mode called Weekly Challenge, which refers to a specific game mode where all players compete on the same randomly generated survival map for the highest score on a weekly leaderboard. I haven't really engaged with it because I don't really care about leaderboards at all. Story-wise, it is very simple. You play as one of Empress Quintus Crane's commanders, sent beyond the safety of the wall to rebuild humanity's reach. Every mission you complete expands the Empire's territory, reconnects old railways, and pushes deeper into lands swarming with infected. Throughout the campaign, there are these so-called hero missions, where you can uncover fragments of how the world fell apart, giving the player a bit of lore. To be fair, I didn't really play the campaign for the story. In fact, I couldn't care less. All I was interested in was how to play the game and to get familiarized with the core mechanics. Finally, sounds and soundtrack for me were okay, nothing stood out particularly. Just a quick break. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing and all that good stuff. Now back to the video. Now that I showcased the game and its elements, let me discuss about the issues I have with it. The first thing I noticed was the lack of quick saving. This is by far the biggest problem. I genuinely do not understand why developers decided not to implement this. Yes, there are ways to do it, but I want it to be in the game itself. I don't want to dig through my files to find autosaves and then make backups and so on and so forth. For example, I was doing a mission where I had to kill a giant. Fair enough, I thought to myself. I will have 40 of my soldiers attack it, who by the way are all veterans. Little did I know that the giant hits like a truck, but more importantly, once I aggroed it and when it killed my troops, it went on a rampage to destroy everything that I have built for at least an hour and a half. Safe to say, it was a disaster, and the whole game that lasted more than an hour and a half went to waste because of this particular situation. If I had a quick save or if I had autosaves, I could have recovered. Instead, I had to redo the whole mission again. This is not an isolated case, since I have experienced more problems like this. I almost gave up on the campaign as a whole, but I pushed forwards because I wanted to experience every aspect of the game before I actually make this video. Tech tree in campaign doesn't offer refunds and can soft lock your progress if you're not careful. I would argue it doesn't have anything to do with being careful or not, it's just punishing you since you cannot know whether or not you will need a certain technology to actually progress further with campaign. As an example, I had a mission where I had to develop a significant population for the colony, but there weren't enough forests to get food in that manner. However, there was plenty of grassland, which is perfect for farms. But if I haven't unlocked the farm technology beforehand, there is no way for me to progress. Luckily, by sheer intuition, just before starting the mission, I have unlocked the required tech. The only thing I could have done if I haven't unlocked the farm is to effectively restart the whole campaign. This is a huge problem. I shouldn't search for guides online how to invest into a tech tree. This should be natural and I shouldn't be anxious about it. Solo hero missions in campaign don't make a lot of sense. In fact, I find them very boring and pointless. Sure, you get bits and pieces of story, but the only reason you want to do them is to get more research points for the tech tree and empire points for handling missions that require you to defeat zombie hordes. To be honest, you have to do them in a way that you obtain most of the points available, otherwise you would be severely handicapped during the campaign. Another issue with solo hero missions is finding the points. Yes, there is a flashing indicator on an item that you need to interact with in order to pick them up, but it is so cumbersome to comb through the map in order to collect them all. Not to mention, some of them are relatively small, and the flashing indicator in this situation can very well be missed, and you are pretty much just wasting time, which is annoying. Also, these points are listed as optional objectives, but in reality they are mandatory. You need all of them, or at least most of them. In this situation, me being somewhat of a completionist helped. I usually will complete everything to 100% or close to 100% when I see that the invested time outweighs the potential gain. That helped me a lot, otherwise, I would have a very bad experience. Some players don't really bother with this, and I'm pretty much sure this will have a negative outcome for them. Mainly since you need these points to progress further, and that's the whole problem in this situation. The campaign missions are too long. This is even more emphasized if you happen to fail at the very last moment because of gacha situations where you can't really know what kind of zombie will spawn in the last wave. But yes, the campaign missions are somewhat tediously long. On average, I would say they are easily 1 hour plus, if not more. Again, that would not be a problem if we are talking about survival or endless modes, but this is campaign. It shouldn't drag that long to begin with. While I did expect some minor bugs might happen in this game, I certainly did not expect a game-breaking bug will be a thing. However, believe it or not, it is. That was the only one I found, but it is a significant one. Case in point, in my situation, the game crashes right at the end of the last mission in the campaign. As soon as I kill the last zombie, the game automatically crashes to desktop. If I want to access the campaign, I would have to forfeit my game and start again. I use Google to see if this issue can be resolved in any way, shape or form, but what I have found is not really satisfactory. Then again, it is easy to check on YouTube the end cinematic and be done with it. Since if you look at it this way, I already completed the game, or rather the campaign. However, it defeats the purpose. I would like to reduce some of the missions as well, because that's a possibility in the campaign, but it seems that that won't be happening anytime soon. And while I am a bit disappointed, given the fact that I have certain issues with the game that I'm already describing here, I don't think that being a case anytime soon. When I look at the strategy in this game, it is always the same no matter what you do. There is pretty much no variation, and quite frankly, there isn't a lot of variation to begin with. For example, I used soldiers as my main force. The rest of the units pretty much did not exist except for the rangers that you have when you start the game. It always plays the same. You build 2 rows of walls, put executors behind them, and you won the game. You think it's going to be a difficult wave? Well, you build 2 lines of executors and sprinkle wasps around them, and that's it. It can become a bit monotonous because whatever you do, you resort to the same tactics. Now, if the game had more defensive mechanisms or some type of defensive variations, more units, more zombie variants, maybe then it would be a bit more interesting. However, it boils down to the same formula that I have mentioned before, and that tends to be repetitive. And I'm speaking from experience because now that I think about it, every single time I wanted to defend something or I wanted to assault someone, it was always in the same manner. Finally, when looking at the story, or rather the campaign is thin on writing, on mission variety, and meaningful progression. Some missions feel repetitive or artificially difficult rather than interestingly designed. In other words, campaign is very much straightforward. You are continuously expanding and establishing colonies for the empire, pushing towards the coastline in order to eradicate the infected. I guess the story is there because it needs to be there, otherwise we would be outraged that the game like this doesn't have a story or a campaign mode. However, since the missions in campaign are so long, you start losing the thread what's happening with the story. And eventually, you don't really care what's happening, you just want to push forward and finish the campaign because the mission that you previously did was so long, you just want to get rid of this as soon as possible. So, what do I think about this game based on what I said? Well, having played the campaign, I can say that I will never play it again. It just caused too much frustration. I was on the verge of quitting several times because of the issues that I have encountered. It's just not worth my time and my well-being. When it comes to survival aspect of the game, or the mode itself, I see myself giving it a go from time to time, but if I find something better to play, which has the same mechanics, I don't see myself touching this game ever again. It gives me vibes of having lots of potential, but because of the issues I have described, it just falls flat. From what I have read, it seems that the devs abandoned it, which would indicate that potential improvement would not happen. If you are curious and you want to experience it for yourself, which I always recommend, and you can ignore the issues that I have outlined, try picking it up on sales. In the meantime, I will be playing another game of a similar genre and mechanics, the Riftbreaker. And I have a feeling it will be much better than this one. Stay tuned. That's it from me. Until the next time.